I was in my blind overlooking a game trail when I first saw it. I got it into my optic sight, easy shot, 60 yards, but I didn't shoot because the head didn't look right. It was at least an 8-point buck, but its mouth was too big and the snout looked too long. I could see fangs peeking out of the front of its lips just behind the nose. When it turned toward me, it looked more canine than anything else, with the eyes towards the front instead of on the sides like a normal deer. But the worst thing about the whole encounter was that even though it was looking right at me, it didn't run.
There have been reports of strange creatures in the area.
Witnesses say they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
What is that? Welcome, beloved fofers, doubters, naysayers, non-believers, and skeptics. Welcome to Paranormal, Fable, or Fact. I am Victor Trevino, joined by my co-host and beautiful wife, Tammy.
We are humble guides to tales of alleged hoaxes, unbelievable stories, and the overall strange.
Sweet. If you want to be on the show, send us an email at pfableorfact@proton.me, our Facebook, YouTube, the rules, and the rules for debunkers will be in the show notes. Like, give us a review, hit that notification bell so that you can know when we put out our new shows, and subscribe. For the love of all that's holy, subscribe!
And tell your friends and family about the podcast.
Okay. The last show we did, baby, this is the only reference I want to do.
Okay.
The last show we did, we really left out a major part of the whole entire thing. Completely my fault, baby. About the food, or food being all screwed up and stuff. One of the major points that we missed, it would have been business as usual, all the way across the board, baby. It took individuals over the last decades actually filing lawsuits against the federal government to try to change some of these additives and preservatives and artificial sweeteners and all the crap. It actually took American citizens to get, doctors and nutritionists to file lawsuits. That's why we're seeing change. And then again, the appointment of RFK is another move. This is just an individual. He's not a doctor or anything, but that's the only way change happened. Otherwise, we just keep on right on.
Yeah, keep on taking whatever they're going to give us.
Yeah, we would have just kept eating it and consuming it, and there would have been no studies done. There would have been none of that. All of that stuff was individuals. Otherwise, it would have just kept going, And now we're having stuff starting to be banned from our packaged foods, thank goodness. But I just wanted to make that point. We didn't really point that out, that nothing started to change. The awareness of what was going on didn't change. It took individuals to step up.
Right. And good for them for stepping up.
Yeah.
And good for RFK for taking that position and making it a mission of his.
Yes. And then our appreciation goes out to our veterans, our troops, our first responders. God bless you and yours. So let's get into the gist, baby. Now, this show is unique, honey, because the intro that was at the beginning of the show came from an email.
Oh, really?
I received an email from an individual. I had no idea what he was talking about. I had to read the email like 3 times. I emailed him back. He didn't answer. So I started looking up what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I came up with this creature, this cryptid, called the knot deer. And I'm like, what? It's been largely redacted because even though he didn't respond back, I assume it's a guy because, he didn't want me to say his name, so I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
He was hunting on private property of a family member, so he didn't want me to say where it was. I don't know why he didn't want me to name the date, but he gave me all that information. He just didn't want me to put it when we talked about it. So...
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. We can still talk about it.
I'm just explaining why we're not putting the information on there because I was asked not to.
Right.
That's why I'm... So let me just go over the intro and then we'll read the rest of the email, how he finished it.
Okay.
Okay, it goes, I was in my blind overlooking a game trail when I first saw it. He said that his blind was like 8 feet off the ground, and he was on a hill looking down at a game trail down below, like 80 to 90 yards from where he was at, and he had a perfect sight of this game trail. That's why he had his blind set up there. This thing wandered out of the bushes between him and the game trail, right out in the open. He wasn't glassing at the time, so he saw it and he's like, oh man, it's just laying itself right down on my dinner table, you know what I mean? Easy shot, you know? Yeah. And that's what he says. He says he put it in his sights. It was an easy shot, 60 yards, but he didn't shoot because as he's looking through his scope, he said the head didn't look right. So he starts looking at it closer. Now through the scope, baby, he was zoomed in. He's, you know, it's like looking at something through binoculars, basically. Right. So he's getting a really good look at this thing. He said that the mouth was too big and the snout looked too long, and he could see fangs peeking out from the front of its lips just behind its nose. So it had like long canines basically sticking out. And then it turned toward him, and when he was looking at it, he said it looked more like a canine, like a dog or a wolf more than anything else, because the eyes were on the front of the head instead of more towards the sides like a normal deer. And then he said, but the worst thing about the whole encounter was that even though it was looking right at me, in other words, it saw him, they were looking at each other, it didn't run. So the email continues, I started shouting at the damn thing because I didn't know what it was, and it freaked me out a little bit. I didn't get terrified until it reared up on its hind legs. The legs were bent the wrong way. They bent like our knees do. So, you know, if you look at a deer or dogs or whatever, they're where their knees are, they bend opposite of ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're backwards. Right. So when this thing stood up, its knees were basically like ours, forward.
Whoa.
Which would have looked... I can't even imagine what that looks like.
Yeah.
So it took a few twitchy steps in my direction.
On its hind legs.
On its hind legs. I dropped down from the blind and hightailed it out of there. I left my pack, my canteen, and my extra rounds behind, I guess, in the blind. Or he dropped them on the ground when he jumped out of that blind. I don't know. But it never occurred to me to take a shot at the thing because it was so unnatural. That's very important. I didn't stop running until I got back to the truck and called my buddy. He wanted to know why I left my blind so early because I had never done that before. I made up some fangled story and never told him the truth. In fact, I've never told anyone what I saw until now.
Wow.
So that was the email I got.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
What's glassing?
Using binoculars or some kind of magnified way of looking around. It's just a slang term, glassing. You're scoping your area out.
Oh, okay.
With an optic or a scope or, you know,
okay,
binoculars, whatever.
Now, my second question. Do deers get on their hind legs? Like, do they...
They will, to reach, like, vegetation and stuff. It looks real weird when they do it, but they don't walk on their hind legs.
Okay.
You're not going to see a deer trotting down the road on its hind legs.
Okay.
Jogging, you know what I'm saying? They just don't do that.
Okay.
Because that's what people say, well, deer do get on their hind... It's like bear, baby. Bear do get on their hind legs, but that's not their normal mode of locomotion. That's where they look so...
Is it like a toddler walking? Like just learning how to walk? Is it like just a little bit...
It's ungainly. It's awkward. They kind of do this weird waddle. Uh-huh. There's no reason for a bear to be on its hind legs unless it's... there's no reason for it to do it.
Yeah.
They only do it for certain... Like, they'll get up on their hind legs primarily to do like to look big, to appear bigger. If they're engaging something that they feel is threatening, they'll get up on their hind legs to fight.
Same with deer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Bucks go low to the ground and hit each other's antlers and stuff.
Okay, I'm just curious.
But what I'm saying is that it's not their normal mode of locomotion. If you see a deer on its hind legs and it's walking towards you, obviously it freaked him out. That would have freaked me out. Plus, if you're looking at its legs and the way it
Yeah, the
stood
knees
up,
bend
the
like
knees
ours.
bent down. Man,
Yeah.
I'd have been like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
Plus, it had fangs.
Ooh,
Remember, it had
yeah.
teeth.
I forgot about the fangs.
It had canines, and its mouth was too big. I can't even imagine.
Ooh.
So let's move on because
Okay.
we're taking too long for this gist.
Okay.
Not deer are strange deer that people are seeing them and have been seeing for hundreds of years. They could be tied to Native American and First Nations folklore. We'll go into that later.
Okay.
The not deer is described as looking like a deer from a distance, but as one gets closer to it or takes a longer look at it, something about it appears to be off. They are reported to be larger than normal deer. Their movements are described as being like a newborn deer, jerky and wobbly, which is exactly what the guy in the email
Yeah.
described, but they're adults. Some accounts suggest that the creature is double jointed or has even additional joints in its limbs. So instead of just having like the normal two joints, one at the ankle and one at the knee,
Yeah.
and then maybe one at the hip, if you
Yeah.
want to count that as a leg joint, they'll have another joint in there somewhere to where their leg looks real weird.
Ooh, that's
What some
strange.
people report. The limbs are described as longer than those of a deer, of a normal deer, and the chest is very barrel-like. That's very important. Remember that detail.
Okay.
The way it moves is said to be way more aggressive compared to normal deer. The most defining feature, however, is that not deer do not have eyes on the side of their head, but rather towards the front like a predator, which is, again, exactly what the guy in the email described. The distinction is usually the first thing that is noticed and appears as off. A few accounts even involve multiple eyes, which would be really crazy, but
Yeah, that would be crazy.
most do not. Other uncommon outliers to typical accounts involve describing the head as bovine or canine. He said it looked more like a canine when it looked at him.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know any of this information, baby,
Yeah.
until I read that email. And I was suspicious at first. I'm like, well, maybe he's just telling me what I want to hear, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe this is just... But, I don't know, it was in an area where there's a lot of sightings of this thing. And the fact that he didn't respond and wanted so much stuff redacted led me to believe that I don't think he was lying.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that just because he emailed me a story that I'm gonna talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that we were gonna
that's
talk
true.
about it.
That's true.
Because we're not. If you send me some story about Godzilla, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Rodan or something.
Yeah.
Because you say you saw some big bird in the air and you thought it was Rodan. We might not talk about that.
Right.
It's not automatically qualified to
Yeah,
come
we're
on the
gonna-
show.
You're going to do your research and
Yeah,
double check
right.
it
I'm going to
and
make
stuff,
sure that
yeah.
it seems legit or, whatever. This one seemed pretty serious to me because according to him, he never talked about it, but he never told anybody. He even said he made up some story to even tell his friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sick, I have the runs, whatever.
Yeah.
That's why he
Yeah.
left.
And a lot of people do that because they're afraid, they just don't want to talk about it after an incident like that.
Right, they're
would assume.
traumatized.
Yeah.
Now, here's another weird thing that stood out to me. Not deers are said to be not afraid of humans. So they'll just walk right up to you. Not like a normal deer. Normal deer are very skittish.
Skittish, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Tho-
rabbits.
Yeah, like rabbits. Those who encounter them say that they have an uneasy feeling that there is an intelligence and emotion about them that furthers the feeling that something's off. So that it's almost like they're not a normal animal. There's something very weird and unsettling about them when people see them.
Yeah.
In fact, the not deer will generally approach humans, and it's because of this that the odd movements, those wobbly, weird, jerky movements, are noticed. Despite encounters being described as feeling off, quote unquote, the creature has only been reported to attack if provoked, such as when the witness tries to scare them off, or like he did, he started yelling at it, hey, get out of here, or whatever, because
Yeah.
it freaked him out.
Yeah.
And that's why it came toward him. Again, it's right along with one of these kind of... But he never named what he was looking at. He just said it looked like a deer, and it wasn't. He never said not deer. I had to
Yeah.
look all that up for myself.
Right.
He never mentioned any names of
Yeah.
whatever he saw. He just said, this is my encounter. He just said it was a buck that had too big of a mouth, fangs, and it stood up on its hind legs and scared the crap out of him.
Yeah.
So my research led me to this not deer thing, and it just fits right along with what his email said, and that's why I decided to show on it. So anyway, some accounts involve being chased up a tree by these not deers.
The deer chases the humans
The
up a
person
tree?
up a tree, yeah, it'll chase them, yeah, and the people are like, yeah, and run away and jump up a tree to get away from it.
So, and are these most of these stories hunters? Because hunters are usually not scared of.
I believe most of them are, but not all of them, baby.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, the not deer may walk on its hind legs for a bit, but as some animals do in order to intimidate or in attempts to reach individuals who they're chasing up a tree. But other reports are that not deer will actually run at high speeds bipedally. So people have seen them. In fact, I heard a show, and I think it was on Coast to Coast. They were like at some abandoned camp, and they saw this deer rear up on its hind legs and start walking toward their car, so that his buddy floored it, and they peeled out and started hauling butt out of there.
Yeah.
And this thing kept up with the car on its hind legs.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's not just this wobbly, oh, I can't walk, I'm only doing it to intimidate you. No, they've been reported to being able to run on their hind legs quickly. Now here's the weird part about it, and this is why I think it might be something paranormal, baby, which is why I wanted to do the show on it. Witnesses have reported the feeling of being watched and suffering from horrible nightmares for weeks after encountering these creatures.
Really?
That is something that happens with people that see dogmen. They say they have that kind of, they feel like being watched, they feel like, it's almost like they have like a mild form of PTSD after seeing these things.
That's crazy.
Because they're traumatized. Well, that's scary.
No, I get it.
I mean,
but-
I showed you the pictures.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's terrible.
So let's move on to the red flags. Now, these creatures are seen all over the world. I didn't know that. There's been reports of them all over, baby. But again, they're not described as not deer. Not deer are what we call them, basically.
Okay.
And they're limited to the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, there we go.
Now, one thing that's always struck me as odd, because when you hear about, just like you just did, oh, the Appalachians, because they're some of the oldest mountains on the planet,
Yes.
which is nuts. So who knows what's going on over there?
Right.
Who knows what's going on underground? There could be caverns, caves, who knows?
Yeah,
you know?
and then when all the lands were still put together, part of that Appalachian went into different countries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they stretch, I think, all the way into Canada, don't they?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that? I didn't really do a in-depth dive of the Appalachians
Well,
because
yeah.
it's not a show on it. But, I was during my research, I looked at it and I was like, okay. So I want to talk about encounters and then what it might have something to do with, these not deer, these reports of not deer. Then as we get towards the end of the show, we're going to talk, because there's no inarguable truths, we're going to talk about what some explanations for it are. And we'll talk about those and go over those, and then we'll get into our conclusions. So, one of the stories about witnesses seeing this thing happened in Waynesboro, Virginia. It was on a Reddit. I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't want to tick anybody off using their story without their permission or whatever, but they put it on a public forum, so I suppose it's okay to use it, right?
yeah.
Apparently, at the southern entrance of this, I believe it's part of the Appalachian Trail, there's a place called Skyline Drive. This guy rides motorcycles, can't sleep. He goes up there in the middle of the night, and parks at the first outlook at the southern entrance at around 11 p.m. He's just sitting there in the dark, turns his motorcycle off, and he's sitting there in the dark overlooking the few lights he can see of the town below, right? Well, he hears something walking in the woods, and he gets this weird feeling that something's watching him. He used to be a veteran in the Iraqi War, so he says, ask veterans, they'll know what I'm talking about, how something's angrily looking at you or watching you, you know? So, since straight ahead of him was a drop-off, because it's a lookout,
Yeah.
he wasn't worried about that. So he sat on the wall with his back to the lookout and faced the mountains in the dark and just sat there listening. He said, I didn't want to turn on my motorcycle headlight to light up the trees because the motorcycle's really loud. He wouldn't have been able to hear anything. And his light's only,
Yeah.
so it's only going to light up
so much.
right,
Yeah.
certain sections, and he wouldn't be able to see
Right.
very well. He could see fairly well in the dark, Plus, he wanted to rely on his hearing. So anyway, after this happened for a while, this feeling kept getting stronger and stronger. He finally said, I'm just going to take off. So he's cruising down the road at 15 miles an hour because he doesn't want to run anything over, doesn't want to hit anything or injure himself because he's kind of remote up in the mountains.
And it's dark.
Right. He sees this thing come out of the brush and stand basically in the middle of the road. He said, and this is paraphrased, but it's such a good description, I just had to put it in here. He said it looked like someone who had never seen a deer before tried to draw one while someone was describing it to them.
Oh, wow.
So, again, that off.
Yeah.
It's a deer, but it's not. It's something off. There's something off about it.
It's a not deer.
Right. And he said so he started like kind of hollering at it and whistling at it and trying to get it to get off the road because he didn't want to take his motorcycle close to it.
Right.
So he starts honking the horn, he's flashing his high beams, he's yelling at it. Now he's armed, right? He has a 44 Magnum on him.
Okay.
Because he's a veteran and he likes to be armed, you know?
Yeah.
So he said it got up on its hind legs. As he got off the motorcycle to grab something off the side of the road, he's going to throw something at it, try to get it, to get off the road. It stood up on its hind legs and started to come toward him. So he reached for his gun, and it took these weird hops and disappeared off the embankment, the drop-off on his side of the road. Right. So he gets on his back on his motorcycle, and he swung his headlamp over there to see what was going on. And even though it's a 40 to 50-foot drop, he could see its head still looking at him.
Whoa.
So somehow he's like, it is not clinging to that cliff face.
Yeah.
He said it was like an 80-degree drop, so it wasn't straight down, but it was pretty steep,
Yeah.
Somehow it was still looking at him, and he's looking right at it, and he said, nope, I don't care if I run into anything. He just hauled and got out of there.
Yeah, just left.
Yeah,
Wow.
tore out of there. And that's
why you're thinking it's paranormal.
indicative of one of these reports of these not deer.
Okay.
So that's two.
Okay.
We had the email and this guy. And there's stories all over online, baby. You can just find them if anybody's interested in them. But
I'm really excited that one of our listeners gave us a story.
yeah, we've gotten a couple emails, actually.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I told you about the one, we should have talked about that, where they were kind of criticizing us a little bit for the Beast of Bray Road, that we were being too, that we were trying to convince people that there was a werewolf out there.
Oh, okay.
And I was polite, very polite. I said, no, we weren't saying that we think it's a werewolf. And I think we did, baby. We were basically saying if people are seeing something out there, it's a werewolf. If.
Oh, okay.
We weren't saying that's what and then we said that's what we believe it is in our conclusions. But we weren't arguing that there's a werewolf running around out there. You know what I mean? No. Because we don't really, I don't know. It's a weird story. The Beast of Bray Road's a weird story.
Yeah.
And if we sounded like we were trying to argue,
We apologize.
yeah, because that's not what we were doing.
Well, to be honest with you, every time that we do one of these shows and I come up with my conclusion, when I actually listen to it after you post it, I change my conclusion. You guys, I've changed my conclusion 2 or 3 times.
And that's-
every time I listen, I'm like, oh, wait.
That's the beauty of the show. Or you might read something else about it and it might change your
research,
mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
So we're never really arguing that this is what it is. We're arguing that if it does exist, if people are seeing something, this is what it might be. And this is a perfect example. The deer man. Could the deer man be a possible explanation for these not deer sightings? Now, the deer man is described as a hybrid animal in Native American, and I believe some First Nations people too believe in this. It's like a woodland spirit of fertility and hunting and gathering, and he's described as having the antlered head of a great stag and a human's torso and legs described as those of either a man or a deer.
Oh, wow.
Right? So he's walking hind-legged on these deer legs that are kind of like human legs, with a stag head, and it's a hybrid.
Kind of like the character in Lion and the Witch.
The Lion and the Witch.
Yeah, the wardrobe.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like that. No?
Oh, that's a fawn.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's
Never mind.
part goat, I believe.
Okay, never mind.
But like that, except
Okay.
with more deer features instead of goat
Okay.
or goat features. Yeah.
Okay.
In addition, the deer man is usually said to be well muscled. Remember that barrel chest
Yeah.
that is described for the not deer, and is surprisingly fast for its size. Other accounts gift the beast with the power to transform itself from a regular deer into this deer humanoid.
Oh, wow.
So there's different interpretations of this folklore about the deer man. Now we're going to hear stories about the deer man real quick. In Ohio, a 14-year-old witness playing hide and seek saw the deer man. It was getting dark. I was the seeker. I heard leaves crumpling, and when I turned to look, I saw what looked like a deer on its hind legs. I clearly remember seeing dog legs running, but the rest of the body was standing straight up, so it took off running on its hind legs, is what he's saying. And its legs looked like a dog's legs.
Yeah.
But the rest of the body was standing straight up. It ran with incredible speed, and I knew it couldn't be either of my cousins who were hiding. I ran as fast as I could back to the house, and one of my cousins was running in too, so they got there at the same time, and he was scared because he saw the same thing. It still creeps me out to this day because my uncle always told us that he had always seen weird things around his property.
Oh, wow.
So that could be a deer man or a not deer. Who
That
knows?
would be so terrible because that's the best time to do hide and seek, right when the sun's going down.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then all of a
Dusk
sudden,
and- yeah.
all of a sudden that would be scary.
Yeah. And here we have in Delaware, 1993, Hawkinson, another account from an at the time 8-year-old witness, again unnamed, who was staying with his grandparents at their home in the Woodland States. It was right there, almost pressed against the window in profile. I stared in awe, and that's when it changed. In one smooth movement, it reared up on its hind legs and was no longer a deer, but a man. There were only 2 men in the area, my grandfather and my dad, and it was clearly neither. Not sure if that made it better or worse. My grandfather was very built for his age, but my dad had a gut. This thing exuded strength, and it scared the hell out of me. It stared to the side for a moment, then strode off with a purpose. Looking back, I want to tell myself that it was just the imagination of a half-awake child, but I remember the awe and the utter fear I felt when the deer, quote-unquote, changed. So, there you go, another story about the deer, possible deer man, possible slash not a deer. But you see how it's kind of like these kind of similarities between this folklorish creature, because remember, baby, we've always said it on the show. Legends and myths are usually based on some type of truth.
Right.
And if people have been seeing this thing for hundreds of years, how can we just dismiss it?
Right.
I mean, are people just making things up?
Yeah.
Some of these sightings date back hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right.
You know?
It's crazy.
Now, Serenus is a Celtic god. He's shown on a 1st century BC pillar of the boatman from Paris, where it is associated with the image of an aged, antlered figure with torques around his big horns. I had to look what a torque was. It's basically like a twisted metal ornament that's usually worn around the neck.
Okay.
So there's like these twisted,
So they look like earrings.
basically like earrings in his antlers. There are statues, ornament, figurines, carvings, and metalworks that depict this ancient god. Serenus is even tied now in modern times to the worship of Wicca. You know, people that practice Wicca as the horn god.
Okay.
So it's an ancient god of nature, animals, fertility, fecundity, tied to Roman, Celtic, pagan, and Gallic religions.
Wow.
So basically all over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Could this be what people are seeing? Some kind of representation or visitation by some spiritual forest god or forest spirit
Yeah.
that's antlered and looks kind of like a person or a half hybrid thing.
Right.
Again, that's not what we're saying it is.
No.
I'm just saying
Could
these,
it possibly be it?
it could possibly be it or have ties to it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought it was fascinating that there's other cryptids that might be tied to this knot deer, because the knot deer doesn't, as far as I know, it's not really well known. You know what I mean? Not like other cryptids like Dogman and Sasquatch.
Right.
Or like Loch Ness Monster, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I've never heard of it until you talked about it.
Another deer-like cryptid is the Jersey Devil.
Does the Jersey Devil look like a deer?
They say it has a kangaroo-like head with antlers in some of the reports. Kangaroo, if you look at a kangaroo head, it's kind of deer-like, you know?
It's kind of deer-like, yeah.
And if it's on its hind legs, you might think, well, what is that?
Yeah.
And the Appalachian Mountains run right through that area on the east coast of America. I mean, the Pine Barrens, I don't think they're part of the Appalachians. They might be, actually.
I don't know.
But it's in the area, is what I'm saying. Maybe they're seeing that. Of course, not deer, or the Jersey Devil is reported as having wings and flying. I didn't find any reports of not deer flying. They just walk on their hind legs and they're real weird and they freak people out.
Another example is the Native American folklore, the Deer Woman. She is a goddess of the forest, and she has sometimes can possibly seduce somebody and lure them into their doom.
Into their doom?
Lure them to their doom. Oh, she is seen as a beautiful woman that has deer features or just a beautiful deer.
Yes, a awe-inspiring doe of beautiful proportions, or this beautiful woman. And she, in most variances, she's a fertility or love goddess of the forest. But some say she's like a seductress, like a siren, and she'll lure people away and kill them.
Well, female deers are very majestic looking.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. They're beautiful animals. Or deer just in general are beautiful.
Yeah.
But the thing is that here you have, again, this human-like hybrid with antlers and deer features that's a human that could possibly be tied to what people are seeing.
Yeah.
Maybe they manifest themselves as scary because, for example, the email we got, because he was hunting, one of these forest gods or goddesses decided, hey, let's scare the crap out of this guy so he stops hunting over here.
Yeah.
And that's what it did. It took this ugly form, stood up on its hind legs, and started walking toward him, and it freaked him out and got him out of there.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, baby, he never went back.
Right. Well, yeah, as far as you know, yeah. But you didn't have all the stories that you've heard have not been any like majestic, beautiful deer woman, right?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No. But what I'm saying is that these are nature spirits that have to do with deer. Maybe that's what people are seeing.
Oh,
because we're going to start getting into some of the explanations now as to what people, primarily skeptics in my opinion, think that it might be.
Okay.
Another tie-in, baby, is the Wendigo, which I have no idea. It was such a pain. Every time I tried to type in any kind of search for any antlers or deer kind of cryptids, the Wendigo kept popping up. The Wendigo has nothing to do with deer. It has nothing to do with antlers. I think it was depicted as that in some graphic novel or something that was kind of popular. So all of a sudden, everybody, Wendigo run around with horns and they have a skull on their head. No. The original Wendigo, and we could probably do a show on it, it's a spirit. It doesn't have a physical body. What's running around killing everybody is the person gets possessed by this evil Wendigo spirit because the person committed the sin or the crime against humanity of committing cannibalism.
Oh, wow.
So in times of famine, it was a very huge thing in most Native Americans and First Nations people. You do not commit cannibalism.
Yeah.
It's seen as something so ghastly.
Yeah, dirty.
But because there was rumors that some Native Americans ate their own, they did it after the person was like burned to ash and stuff, and they would mix it into some drinks and drink it because they wanted to keep their ancestral spirit in there. But that's not consuming the flesh.
No, it's not.
Of a dead person and carving them up like they're a pig or something.
Yeah.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's only a small portion of very few tribes did that. And it's more like an ancestral thing. It doesn't have anything to do with actual cannibalism. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's seen in Native Americans and First Nations people it's one of the worst things you can do is commit cannibalism. And that's why their folklore talks about this Wendigo spirit. You'll be cursed. You'll walk the earth as this animal, this beast, basically.
Right.
But you just look like a human.
Oh, okay.
You don't walk around with a deer head on, a deer skull on your head or whatever,
Yeah.
And basically people will kill you because you're no longer human.
Right.
Or you're trying to eat other humans.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the story. The Wendigo is a spirit. It has nothing to do with this monstrous deer-headed or thing that has a skull on its head. And I don't know how that came about, but as far as I know, the original folklore had nothing to do with that. So, to me, anybody that brings up the Wendigo talking about this not deer or any of these other spirits that have antlers, they don't know what they're talking about, basically. Or they're just doing it because they know the Wendigo's popular. They just want to throw it in there. But I completely dismiss it. Has nothing to do with any of these sightings. Moving on, we have your favorite, baby.
The escaped animals. I can't. So I have to tell you a little bit. Today I was looking up, like doing research and looking up, and I thought, you know what would be good is like, let me look up the circuses and look up like characters that were coming from the circus. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, stop. It's just like the escaped animals. Just stop. Just don't even go down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I was trying to figure out some like show ideas, and I was like, and I was thinking about the escaped animals. Every time is an escaped animal.
Yes. Well, it's the go-to explanation. No proof necessary. No evidence whatsoever, because what they're saying is that people might be seeing a kangaroo, because kangaroo walk around on their hind legs, right? Well, kangaroo don't have wobbly, jerky steps. Remember,
they're pretty stable,
the back legs of a kangaroo are fused at the hips. It's fused.
Oh, that's right.
They can't move their feet separate from each other, so that's why they hop. So they don't describe this not deer as hopping. Now, the guy did in that one story where he's on his motorcycle.
Right.
He said it did this weird kind of hopping thing.
Yeah.
But the idea that someone's not going to know what a kangaroo is, baby. Kangaroo have those long, muscular tails. Deer do not. They have the little tiny... I think the white-tailed deer...
Kangaroos don't have antlers.
They don't have antlers. Well, some of them are described as does. Not all, deer or stags.
Okay, my bad.
Some of them are reported without having antlers. They look like doe, and they're just massive. That'd be freaky.
But between a deer and a kangaroo...
You know what I honestly think is so freaky about seeing something like that is because when you see a deer, you think, oh,
yes,
look at the cute little deer,
Yes.
I mean, unless you're a hunter and you're like, oh, look at that deer. It's gonna, you see food, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not in season, or even if you're a hunter, if you see a deer in your yard, you're like, oh, look at the cute little deer,
Yeah.
They're harmless, and they got that little face and the little black noses. Yeah. So if you see one that's like freaky looking and with big bulging eyes in the front and fangs and
stuff.
Oh man, I think that's why it's so creepy to me.
It could be, yeah.
It'd be like seeing a monstrous rabbit or something,
Oh
yeah. It's normally something that's fuzzy and cute, and it's like all hideous, and you're like, yeah. Like something deformed or malformed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, they say, it could be a kangaroo. I think it's because it's this color similar, and the ears are similar, and the face is similar. That's just dumb.
No.
I'm sorry. That's just a dumb explanation.
That's a lot of escaped animals.
Yeah, the idea that someone's... Well, it's dismissive, baby, because it assumes the witness is a moron.
Yeah.
And can't tell the difference between a kangaroo and a deer. Come on. They don't even remotely... They're built completely different. A kangaroo's all lower body. It's all back legs and butt and tail. Deer aren't like that.
Especially hunters. Hunters know what they're looking at.
Especially if you're looking at it through binoculars or something.
Yeah, if you're glassing.
Now, here's a possible explanation, baby, is some kind of birth defect, a deformed deer.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
That is a possibility.
And I was looking at possible birth defects of deer, and I ran into the albino stag. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, people were seeing this white stag, and they're like, oh, there ain't no white stag out there. And they went out there, and they found it.
Yeah.
I think actually somebody shot it.
Oh.
It was an albino deer. And now they know that it's more common than they actually thought. The reason the deer don't survive very long when they're albino
is they're camouflaged.
They don't have any camouflage. They stand out like a sore thumb. So bear and wolves and everything else,
everybody can get them.
Eat them.
Yeah.
So we don't see them in nature very often. We see them more in captivity. or in areas where it's like a reserve, and
Yeah.
there's no hunting or
Yeah.
and predators are cold and stuff,
Yeah.
then you see them running around. But in nature, you don't see them very often.
No, you wouldn't. I
So-
don't think you would.
I think that's a really good. We could be looking at some kind of birth defect or something, but why would the birth defect be seen all over? There would have to be something to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what kind of birth defect makes a deer stand on its hind legs?
I don't know.
Or look like a deer from a distance and then all of a sudden it's not?
Yeah.
Because that's been described almost like it's shape-shifted. Like, oh, it's a deer, look at that. Oh, wait. And as you get closer, or it's coming closer to you, wait, that's not a deer.
Yeah.
And that's where the name came from.
that
Not.
would be- yeah,
it's
not
like,
deer.
oh, crap, It's not deer,
I think the name is funny.
Well, I remember it being in some way back when, baby, before I even knew what it was. I remember they called it not a deer. Not a deer. That was the term.
Not a deer.
Right, not a deer. But now it's just called not deer. Moving on. Another possible explanation, baby, is some kind of shapeshifter.
Yeah, skinwalkers.
A
and
skinwalker.
shapeshifters are- yeah.
Yeah.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
They say that skinwalkers can shapeshift into whatever
They
form.
sure do.
And they say when they do take the form of animals, they're malformed or something's off about them. What if that's what people are seeing? It would also explain the description of having nightmares afterwards,
Yeah.
the feeling of being watched.
Yeah.
Those go hand in hand with stories of encounters
Yeah,
with
'cause it could be
skinwalkers.
some kind of magic or some kind
Yeah.
of black magic or something. I don't know. Huh, interesting.
I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, an alternative to the deformed deer explanation is that witnesses stumble upon a deer suffering from a known illness called CWD, or chronic wasting disease, aka otherwise known as the zombie deer syndrome.
Wow.
Now, common symptoms of this disease include excessive drooling, listlessness, confusion, and tremors, which would explain, the jerky movements and
Right,
stuff, or
yeah.
showing no fear of humans because they're confused. They'll just wander right out onto the road and get hit by cars. And now, that's that's good explanation. Yeah, good. The skeptics, that's what they say it is. Oh, it's just these zombies. That's all they're seeing. It's just these sick deer. That's it. That's what it is. It doesn't explain a lot of things. Number one,
The size of them.
the size. Not deer are supposed to be larger than normal deer.
Right.
In almost every report I read about a not deer, baby, they're larger than normal deer. That's what's one of the first things is like, whoa, why is it so big? Or a hunter's like, ooh, look at the size of that
Yeah.
buck,
That's a lot of meat for my
Right.
freezer.
They're larger than normal deer.
Yeah.
So if it's wasting away, again, the barrel chest, remember, it's powerfully built. That thick body, that
Yeah,
barrel-chested build on it, it's muscular
Yeah.
and big.
Yeah.
Longer limbs than a normal deer. How does that, if it's wasting away, why would it have a barrel chest?
Right. And so much. Yeah.
And so much larger than a
so
normal
much
deer.
Larger. Yeah.
So
the
it
size.
does meet some of the explanation, but it's missing the mark on a lot of others.
Right.
Also, it doesn't explain why a sick deer that's suffering from this chronic wasting disease, why is it going to get up in its hind legs and start wandering towards you or running at high speeds bipedally?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be sick?
Yeah.
The description of it having some kind of an intelligence, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, to it. And, being, ooh, they get creeped out by
Yeah.
it. Yeah, if it's a sick deer, you might feel sorry for it. It's
Right.
like if you see an animal that's ill or,
Yeah.
you can tell it's dying, people aren't going to be weirded out
You
by
might put
it.
it out of its misery too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Especially as a hunter, so you might put it out of its misery.
You're not, what I'm saying is you're not going to shy away from it and be all
Right,
freaked
you're
out and
not gonna be-
screaming and
yeah.
go running,
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus,
I
it's
see
not
what
going to
you're
make the
saying.
eyes towards the front of the head as reported in the not deer. So again, although it explains some of the behavior, as in maybe a deer suffering from this disease isn't going to be afraid of humans, and it might have jerky movements because of these tremors or
Right,
seizures it's
right, yeah.
suffering from. That's it. That's the only commonality it has as
Yeah.
a legitimate explanation.
Yeah.
Because everything else falls short.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a point. We've made them in past shows, but we're going to talk about something called a dingiso. This was a cryptid that was being reported in New Guinea for decades, baby, centuries, they were telling scientists about this tree kangaroo. And scientists, no, those Moni Indians, they don't know what they're talking about. It might be pronounced Moni. I don't know. I think they're the Moni, though. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just making up stories about forest spirits. There's no such thing as a tree-climbing kangaroo. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. For centuries, baby. And the Moni included this animal in their rituals. They called it the forbidden animal. Right?
Right.
They didn't hunt it. It's very peaceful, and they believed it had something to do with like some kind of forest spirit.
Yeah.
So science was just completely dismissive.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about. Those tribal people, they don't know anything. Until 1995, somebody actually got off their duff and went out in the woods, out in the jungle, and went, "Holy crap! There is one. There's a black and white kangaroo in the tree." And I'll show you a photo of one.
Please do, because I can't imagine that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it looks like a little panda almost.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah.
But look, it's basically a kangaroo in a tree.
Looks like a koala to me.
Almost a koala, but they're kangaroo.
Wow.
They're marsupials.
Wow.
Trippy, huh?
I bet the scientists were irritated with that.
So the point is, why couldn't it be some new species?
Yeah.
No. They're just sick deer. We don't know, baby. The Appalachians are a massive mountain range.
They called us in there.
We have no idea what's out there. The idea that they're well traveled and well explored is nonsense.
Oh no, they're not.
It could be some kind of weird predator that, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, that looks like a deer to lure deer in so that it can kill them.
Yeah.
It could be, even if we want to stick with the scientific and move away from nature or paranormal, baby, it could be some kind of virus, a rare virus that affects deer and causes them to have like growths or something.
Yeah.
Like the jackalope, baby.
Yeah.
The jackalope was reported as these hair that had antlers.
Right.
And they were like a commodity. People were selling these stuffed jackrabbits with these antlers on them, and it was like cute and jackalope, tongue-in-cheek kind of cryptid, right?
Yeah.
Until they actually saw rabbits run around with what looked like antlers. It's a disease rabbits can get. And it makes it look, I can't remember what the disease is called, but
Actually, it's called Shoke papillomavirus, which mostly infect jackrabbits.
It's actually a scientific explanation for it. And baby, they have photographs. It looks like the rabbit has antlers.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa. Well, what if people, again,
yeah,
every story, every myth, every legend is based on some type of truth.
Yeah.
So why couldn't something like that be happening with the deer?
Right.
Not even talking about the paranormal, the supernatural, none of that.
Yeah.
Talking scientifically. What if it's some virus that we don't know what it is?
Right.
All I'm saying is that to dismiss it, people don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're seeing. I give you the dingiso.
Yeah.
You can't just continue to just dismiss things just because it doesn't fit into your little box of comfort.
Right.
This animal would have never been discovered, the dingiso or the coelacanth, if it wasn't for someone that went, I wonder if there's something to those stories, and actually went out there and looked. Instead of sitting back, no, that's not, we would have found it already. Okay.
That's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's not. And every story that we're going to do from now on, baby, is going to have something to do with this. Because I love that idea of there's parts of the planet that we haven't explored.
Right.
And I love the pompous arrogance and just smugness of some of these members of academia as they just sit back and say, that can't possibly exist up there. But you've never been out there. That doesn't matter. It can't possibly exist. What are we talking about?
Right.
I mean, at that point, are you even a scientist, in my opinion?
Yeah.
Are you even a scientist? Because you need to get out there and go look. If people are saying, look, I'm seeing this, get out there and look.
Yeah.
Why are you just sitting on your duff?
Yeah, you can't sit in your office and just say, nah, it never existed.
And go or travel around the country talking about all these people, seeing all this weird stuff, making fun of them and condemning them and, smearing their names and stuff, but then you don't even get out there and look yourself?
Yeah.
What?
Isn't research a big part of a scientist?
It's supposed to be, yes.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
supposed to
I'm
be.
just double checking. Just double checking.
So anyway, it was the Dengiso was first seen in 2009. That's when they first put it on film, and it came out in some documentary. It's the first time anybody saw it in the modern times. So they recognized it in 1995, but it wasn't even shown to the general public until 2009.
Ain't that something?
Perfect example of what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Took
exactly.
14 years for them to finally say, because when they recognized it in 1995, you knew everybody else in academia, oh, no, we want proof.
Yeah.
I don't want to just see tracks and photographs. I need hairs. I need a body. I want to see it.
Yeah.
And they had to prove that it existed.
Yeah.
And they finally did, and that's why we know the dingiso exists today. I bet you a lot of people listening to the show right now don't even know what a dingiso is.
I didn't know until you showed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would have never been discovered, baby.
No, it wouldn't have.
It would have just been cruising out there in the tree. It's an endangered species, actually. They're very rare.
Oh.
So there's kind of a reason for it not being well known.
Yeah.
But again, the Moni people have been talking about it for centuries.
Yeah.
And they completely dismissed them.
Yeah. They're like these people.
Another one is that coconut eating rat, baby. They were talking about this rat that lived in the trees, and its bite was so powerful that it could crack coconuts. And the scientists again, no, nothing to see here, folks. These people don't know what they're talking about. Until a guy came into town, sees a scientist at this bar. The scientist is over there drinking his brew, right? He's
Yeah.
drinking a brew hog,
Yeah.
chilling, whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy says, hey, aren't you looking for those coconut eating rats? And the scientist is like, yeah. Oh, there's one right down the road. I just saw it. So he dutifully, a good scientist,
Yeah.
this diamond in the rough
Yeah.
compared to all the other lazy,
Yeah.
dismissive, arrogant jerks, apparently. He goes down the road and he sees this thing, and that's how the coconut rat was discovered. Do you know what a coconut rat looks like?
Nope.
Look at this thing.
So he chugged his beer and then went down the road to look at it.
He chugged his beer.
I hope so.
That's what they look like.
God, they're smaller than the coconut.
No, they're massive, baby.
But look, that little
They're
guy's
giant.
Look.
No, that's
Oh, that's the.
That's the coconut eating rat. It's a tree dwelling giant rat species. It's called a coconut eating rat. And they're big, baby. They're massive.
That's the best name they could come up with.
Yeah. Look at that. It chews right through. It can crack
It's
the
got
coconuts and
tough-
chew right through it.
Tough teeth. Tough jaws.
And we'll post all these pictures so people can see them because they're fascinating. And people were, that's the thing, they were finding these and they're like, oh, no, rat couldn't do that. What? And the locals are all like, no, that's a rat.
Yeah.
No, rats can't do that. Rats can't do that. Well, where is this rat? You know, what rat? Well, they live in the trees. Rats don't live in trees. Okay. But again, baby, this dismissiveness.
But see, I think it's fascinating that you're gonna tell, like, okay, so you and I go to the Appalachians, right? We're just gonna go, and the locals are telling us this, and the locals they live there. Of course, they know what's going on around there.
Exactly.
That would be like,
Just think of the smug, baby. Here's another way to put it. You buy a warehouse,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Sight unseen.
yeah,
You're trying to get, it's a cheap price. So you're trying to get it through escrow. You're trying to get it, get the deal done.
Yeah.
And here come the police. Oh, your warehouse is suspected as being involved in a crime. We're going to have to search it. And there you are, never been to the warehouse, never seen inside the warehouse, never even seen the property. No, you're not going to find any evidence in my warehouse. I know. Well, have you been there, sir? No. But I know as you can search it high and low, you're not going to find what you're looking for. Think of the arrogance and the smugness that it takes to take that stance.
right.
And that's what you're seeing with the scientific community.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's what you're seeing with academia.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to do the show. That's why I love shoving it in their face every time they're wrong. I take great delight, baby. Great delight.
Especially when they're telling us that the locals are just ignorant people, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, we talked about that before, because if you don't believe what someone's telling you, you're assuming three things. One of three things. You're either assuming they're a liar,
Yep.
they're stupid, or they're crazy.
Yep.
That's it. Take your pick.
Yeah.
So every time you have these members of academia or the professional skeptics,
Yeah.
our buddies over at Skeptics 101, and they come out and say, oh, no, they were probably mistaken. They were probably just seeing this or seeing that. They're basically calling those witnesses stupid, liars, or crazy.
Yeah, that's not right.
And that's it.
Yeah. And that's why people don't want to come out and say anything.
That's why they don't want to talk
say
about it.
Talk
Exactly.
about stuff. Yeah. Okay, now that we went on our tangent.
Well, no, it has to do with the show.
Yeah.
But in conclusion, what do you think about the knot deer?
So I've been doing research and I've been going back and forth. Like I said earlier, I always change my mind. Half of me wants to say shapeshifter because that's my go-to, right? We all know that. That's my go-to. But the other half, I think it's like a virus, some kind of disease that the deers are getting in the woods.
It's an unknown?
Yeah, an unknown virus that's making the deer a certain way,
Yeah, possibly mutating them or something. Maybe it's mutation. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
My conclusion is basically the same as yours. I think if we're talking about something medical or scientific, it could be some type of unknown virus or unknown disease. There are parasites that will get in certain animals. One of them is snails, and it'll force the snail to crawl to the top of the highest branch or whatever to become prey for a bird. The bird will eat the snail in order to get the parasite within the bird's body. The bird defecates the parasite's eggs out, and that's the life cycle.
Oh, wow.
So they'll use this poor snail as a
Commit
mode of
suicide.
locomotion to commit suicide so that it can procreate. Rabies, baby.
Yeah,
the reason
rabies.
rabies is so dangerous is because the animals will lose control of their functions and try to bite people or
Yes.
bite something in order to spread the virus. That's how the virus procreates.
Right.
It takes over your mind.
Yeah.
So if we know there's viruses and parasites that can do that, what if that's what we're talking about with this thing? That's the scientific part of it. If it's paranormal, it could be a nature spirit, like you said, a shapeshifter. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the horn god going around.
Yeah.
Who knows, baby? I just think that most other shows that I listened to, when it came to this cryptid, were very quick to say, "Oh, no, I don't think it exists at all." Well, how? How are you so dismissive about it? We don't know what it is.
Something exists because
Right.
people are telling stories.
People are seeing it.
See, in all these shows that we do, something is these. I believe these people's stories. I don't. I'm not gonna try to debunk it.
The email that I got was long, baby.
Yeah.
That's just the paragraph that actually talked about the encounter. He was giving me background. Why is somebody going to take that much time? Because that's another part I didn't tell you about. That he was talking about his, growing up in the area, and he went hunting there with his father, and his father passed away, and him and his buddy went up there. We used to go up there all the time, and now he doesn't go up there anymore. And all. I mean, he was giving me all this background, and then,
Details.
but the only part that I wanted to put on the show was his encounter.
Right.
Because that's the only thing that really applies to the show. Because everything else he wanted redacted.
Yeah.
Dates, times, names.
Yeah.
So that was the only part
Well, he's telling you that he's trying to tell you the whole story to try to get you and tell you that the type of character he is. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's sad that people have to do that when they give up these stories. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
like-
that's why I don't think that he was...
Oh no, he
lying.
saw something.
Right.
He saw something.
And you have to figure, baby, unless you think people are stupid, liars, or crazy, what are they seeing?
Right.
The guy on the motorcycle, baby, his writing style, people
Yeah.
were actually saying, wow, you're a really good writer, man,
Yeah.
You really conveyed what you went through.
Yeah.
Why is he going to take the time to do that
Yeah.
if he's just a crazy liar trying to get attention?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. Some of the people that see these things run into it by accident. The kids playing
kids.
hide and seek.
Yeah.
Women that are out on their morning jog, they see one of these things on the side of the road, and they're like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
They get
Yeah.
freaked out and they take off running.
Yeah.
These are normal everyday people.
Right, and especially like you were saying, the kids, they're playing a game. Their whole focus is about this game.
So anyway, that about does it, baby.
Yeah, it does. That was a good show. I want to thank the listener for sending in that email. We appreciate that. Thanks for giving us a topic.
Good topic.
Very good topic. Yeah, I really enjoyed the show. Thank you everybody for listening. Go to our YouTube, subscribe, share with your friends and family. Tell them about the podcast, and keep listening. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.